Hi, welcome to the Travel Brain Trust. I am Mimi Lichtenstein, and we are here with the travel program for experienced travelers who have a love of adventure, unique experiences, and insider information. I am here with Martha Rhodes, and we're here to introduce you to one of our favorite travel experts, Dan Sherman, the Chief Marketing Officer of Ski.com. And we're going to talk about planning a ski getaway this year because there's a lot of new changes due to COVID, new rules and restrictions that vary by mountain. And we're going to talk all about those details so that you can have a great trip.
Wow, thanks. Thanks, Mimi. Hi, Dan. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, good morning. Nice to see you too.
You and I have skied before together at Teton Mountain Resort in Jackson. And I will say that you look a little different than your promo photo and when we skied together. So it's still welcome to the show. It's good to see you.
Yeah, thanks. Even my mother doesn't recognize me right now. This is my COVID look for sure. So,
well, you got the mountain man look going for sure. So you are an expert skier. I know you to be that, and I think maybe later on in the show we might see an example of that. So tell us a little bit about your background in the ski industry and a little bit about ski.com as well.
Sure. Well, I've worked for ski.com for the last almost 15 years. So I grew up an avid skier in Michigan, actually, but always had dreams of living in the mountains. And I'm not sure how my passion and my profession came together like it did, but I'm here in beautiful Aspen at ski.com. So ski.com is a 49-year-old travel company. We customize vacation packages that include lodging, lift tickets, equipment rental, flights, ground transportation, pretty much everything you need for a perfect ski vacation at more than 120 resorts in the US, Canada, Europe, Japan, and South America.
So I know you guys know the industry really well, and then we're seeing some changes. So tell us a little bit about trends that are coming up in the industry and what you guys are working with.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of demand for people who want to head to the mountains, both for skiing and otherwise, just to be outside. So as I'm sure you've seen, there's a lot of wanderlust happening right now. People want to be outside. Over the summer, we saw big trends for outdoor activities like camping, paddleboarding, biking, et cetera, and that's transferring over into skiing now. So the resorts have now started to make announcements of how they're going to handle, I guess, the new normal with COVID. And there's a variety of different policies. So some resorts are requiring reservations for skiing. Some resorts are not, but are limiting lift ticket purchasing, I guess. And there's some changes in the hospitality side of things. So it's just things look a little bit different this year, but I don't think it's going to stop anyone from having a great winter.
Yeah, I expect some people are wondering if it's going to be safe and enjoyable. I'm wondering, you kind of share with us where we're going to see the biggest changes.
Well, safety is obviously the biggest concern for all of the resorts. And on the mountain, obviously it's outdoor activity. There's a lot of skiing, it's a group sport, but it's also an individual sport. So when you're skiing, you're kind of on your own doing your thing. And as far as going up the mountain, they're going to be limiting chairlift capacity and gondola capacity. So this is kind of a broad statement across, some resorts may be doing things a little bit differently, but generally if people are skiing together, if they're in the same family, they can ride a chairlift together. Otherwise, if they're individuals, they're going to leave space in between on the chairlift, so there's so people can kind of stay socially distant. And then there's going to be limited capacity. We don't exactly know what that means. Haven't seen many resorts offering numbers of what that means, but I do know that all the resorts are at least setting things up so that they can limit capacity. So if there's a COVID spike or for whatever reason there's different policies that are happening, they can then flip a switch and limit capacity on the mountain. But if you're planning in advance and if you have a reservation or if you have a lift ticket for that day, I think that it would take something very drastic to get in the way of that.
Okay, well, that kind of brings us to the next topic of what do you advise people to do if they are wanting to plan a ski vacation this year? Like, what should they do to begin the planning process, and what are some of the steps that they should definitely take to make sure that they have not only a safe trip, but also are able to ski?
Yeah, well, maybe as you know, we all are on the same page where we all recommend that you use an expert for your ski vacation anytime. But this year, I think it's even more important. It can be very confusing and possibly intimidating to navigate all of the different policies. So I think that the first thing to do is kind of, make a plan. What are you trying to do? Where do you want to go? And then be flexible with that plan. So generally, what destination skiers tend to do is look at their lodging first. And this year we have to look at lodging and lift tickets together. So often we package lift tickets with lodging, but maybe it comes later. This year we have to look at lift tickets with lodging because that will determine if we can get people on the mountain. And if you have your heart set on a certain resort, but maybe there could be other layers of reservations or policies, then we could guide you to another resort that has fewer barriers, I guess.
So Dan, I've got a little slide here about some top destinations that you guys talk about as being easier to book now than others. Can you address some of these different resorts? These are some very popular ones.
Yeah, well, basically the theme for all of these is that it's essentially business as usual. So for all these destinations, we can easily package lift tickets and lodging, and we can do it now. So for example, Steamboat and Aspen Snowmass, they are not selling advanced purchase daily lift tickets to the public right now, but they are letting partners like ski.com and a couple others package it with lodging. So on the flip side, if destination skiers are booking with Expedia, Booking, VRBO, Airbnb, etc., those travel companies don't have access to lift tickets right now. And I'm not saying that the traveler may not be able to get it eventually, but right now, as I mentioned before, you want to get your lift tickets lined up first. So by packaging it together, you're all set. You're ready to go on your vacation. There's nothing left to figure out.
Gotcha. All right. And so in terms of lift tickets, I know that there are some season passes that a lot of people use, and especially one that I would like to address is definitely the Epic Pass through Vail Resorts, because I know that this is a big change in how you get your lift tickets at Vail Resorts.
Yeah, so for Vail Resorts, which these are some of the most famous and most popular destinations in the world, the Epic Pass is now in its 11th or 12th year, and last year they added additional Epic products. So you can get everything from a full season unlimited pass down to a one-day flexible lift ticket. So they have Epic one day through 7-day lift tickets. So for these destinations, they're requiring reservations for their Epic passes. And right now, that's the only way they're allowing people to get on the mountain is with a pass product. And the way that they're doing it is they're opening up reservations at the beginning of November, and people can reserve their up to 7 days of priority days. So if you want to go skiing over the Christmas holiday, I believe it's November 6th, you can log in and reserve up to 7 days or whatever your pass allows for the Christmas holiday. But then you get, if your pass allows it, an additional 7 days that are rolling reservations that you can book a week in advance. So let's say your priority days are a little bit farther out. Let's say they're spring break. Throughout the season, you can make 7-day reservations a week ahead that are rolling. So I think it's pretty straightforward. It's an additional step, but I think all things considered, it's relatively easy.
And so when people, some of my clients, and I know a lot of viewers out there, get one of these passes, and some people don't. And if you have one, you're typically obviously steered towards the direction of the mountain that takes that pass. And whether it be that or it be somebody who's just thinking, I want to go on a ski vacation this year because it's outdoors and active and adventurous, how do you recommend them thinking about, which destination is the right destination for them? Are there criteria that you have for people to think about? Families, adults, ski levels, that sort of thing?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that most resorts offer something for everyone, but we listen to what travelers are looking for in terms of on-mountain experience, whether they're advanced skiers or intermediate or beginner, if they're families or couples or singles. what their budget is, of course, and if they're more interested in things like shopping, or just as interested in things like shopping and dining as they are in skiing. So with our huge inventory of resorts, we do a great job of steering people to the resort that will work for them. And again, being flexible helps. So if you have your heart set on a certain resort, we could tell you, you might have a better experience and it might be easier for you to go to this resort instead.
Okay, that's good info. And what about specific to families? I know I work with a lot of families with anything from young kids who are learning to ski who might be candidates for ski school to super adventurous teenagers. Are there some that you would recommend more than others for those types of people?
Yeah, so the family resorts, generally we recommend Snowmass, which is here in our backyard. Also Beaver Creek is a great one. Beaver Creek has its own beginner ski school gondola. So the kids get to go up on the gondola and they have their own section of the mountain. Also Steamboat is great, and Keystone is also a great one with their Kidtopia. So a mountaintop kind of adventure zone for kids. So
what I like about Steamboat is I think that is where the roving taco snowcat truck is, I believe.
I think so too, but it's roving, so hard to know.
I was going to show everybody that ski.com has this really nice resort finder on their website. And I did a little pre-selection. I did adults looking for a luxury trip with intermediate skiing and lots of extra activities. And we got these 3 places that came up: Aspen, Telluride, and Vail. And then you can do a really nice comparison of all the different features of the resort. So I think if anybody wants to do a little fun homework research before they call their expert and get some ideas, this is a great resource for them.
And Dan, for people like me who live in New Hampshire, so some people I know aren't going to be comfortable to fly this winter. Do all of these same things apply to New England ski resorts?
Absolutely. So we are expecting to see, although I just read a study that flying is really safe, but we are expecting to see more people hitting the road this winter. And in fact, we put together road trip itineraries for people just like that. But yes, the same rules are going to apply in New England, and many of those New England resorts are owned by Vail Resorts and on the Epic Pass. And then the other one is the Ikon Pass. So a lot of those resorts are Ikon friendly resorts. So yeah, we'll see the same policies with reservation systems and restrictions. And in Vermont in particular, they currently have a restriction for almost anyone coming in from out of state. So you have to quarantine when you get there for 14 days, unless you drive yourself, in which case you have to quarantine at your home for 14 days before you go. So we'll see these policies evolving over time. But yes, I think that it's going to be very similar in the East Coast as it is in the West Coast.
Okay.
Yeah. So before we kind of move on from the planning process, I know we've got so many choices, and I thought maybe just kind of a quick group, some important takeaways from the planning process that I'm going to share now. And whoops, here we go. There we go. All right, sorry, there we go. So just some important takeaways about planning. Maybe you could kind of review that, and then we're going to have some more questions about what fun activities we're going to expect once we get there.
Sure. So the advance purchase. So we always recommend purchasing lift tickets in advance, but this year, more important than ever, we don't expect there to be even a daily lift ticket office open in most places. So planning in advance is imperative. Flexibility, as I mentioned. So, it's possible that a resort could sell out. We'll see what happens. So, again, your travel expert can help guide you to the resort that makes the most sense for you based on your budget, your interests, and policies. And then using an expert, again, is more important than ever because it is confusing. We spend all of our days focusing on the evolution of the policies and what's different this year. And we truly are the experts, or your travel expert can help guide you through what could be a confusing season.
And you guys do really nice packages. So there's some benefits from putting all these things together in a package, right? And sometimes there are things you can do that people can't do on their own. Like you mentioned the lift tickets at Steamboat, for instance.
Exactly. Yeah, there's certain things, and then if they book through you, also we can work together, and there's exclusive amenities available at certain resorts too. So using a travel expert really is the best idea.
And then you guys also offer cancel for any reason insurance, which is harder to come by this year than ever. And I think that's a key benefit to having a package with you, to have that, because who knows, there's so many variables in the world right now.
Yeah, we always recommend having travel insurance, and this year we're recommending it even stronger.
Yeah, that's good. And so as travel advisors, or your team as well, we can really help people navigate that process with insurance, because there's a lot to think about there.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's confusing, but we try to make it as easy as possible. The cancel for any reason insurance is really a great option.
Yeah, good. All right, so you said that when we talked earlier, there were lots of people going to the mountains that are not necessarily skiers, more and more, because it's such a beautiful destination and it's outside and it's COVID friendly. So let's talk a little bit about some of the fun things people can do when they're not skiing, or the family members or partners that are traveling alongside that don't get on the slopes.
Sure. Well, what I always say, this has been my saying for years now, is that historically a successful ski vacation used to consist of the three requirements were a hotel, a chairlift, and a bar. That's all you needed. But things have really evolved at most modern destinations, where there's world-class dining, activities, shopping, spas, et cetera, et cetera. So, and this is really valuable for families or multi-generational travel where not everyone is skiing. But I think this year it's even more important because travel options are limited. People aren't going on cruises. They're not going to Europe. So there are people that are going to the mountains just to be in the mountains. They don't really have any intention of skiing. So some of the activities are ranging from snow biking with fat tire biking, snowmobiling, dog sledding, lots of cross-country ski trails that are free. Most of them are free. And then there's on-mountain activities, taking the gondola up and doing tubing, ice skating. So the list goes on and on. So these ski destinations aren't only for skiing anymore.
And the other day I was actually on the phone with Montage in Deer Valley, and I heard from them about they have a place across the street, a restaurant called Fireside Dining, where I guess you go inside and you go from little fireplace to fireplace for different parts of your meal. And then at some point during the meal, you go outside and go on a sleigh ride and then come back and finish and have dessert. So that sounded super fun too. And I think, as soon as you pick your resort, it's just nice because you get to find out about all the extra fun things that we were talking with Dan about the other day. There's just so many at each mountain that it's a fun adventure to even find out what they all are. And what about, Dan, for high adventure skiers? I know where I live, there happen to be a lot of ex-Olympians, and they're all about having big adventures. What kind of destinations would you say for them?
Well, first of all, fireside dining is one of my favorite things. I love it. And
Yeah.
I'm so into the food that I didn't realize there was a horse-drawn sleigh outside giving rides.
Really?
So
There is.
So for the list goes on and on for this, but focusing this year on domestic resorts, I think the Jackson Hole, of course, has always been known as a big mountain for big mountain skiers, and it does offer something for everyone, but it kind of leans more towards expert skiers. And there you can actually hire a guide to take you into the side country, which it's really known for, and have a professional there to keep you safe and show you the best terrain. There's also several resorts that offer snowcat skiing. Steamboat is one. From Aspen, the Little Nell arranges snowcat tours from the top of Aspen Mountain off on the backside. Also, Copper Mountain was offering snowcat skiing from the mountain, but last year they installed a lift called the Three Bears lift. So that now offers skiers the ability to access this really great terrain. So really some really fun terrain options domestically.
And just out of curiosity, I was also on the phone with a woman from Tordrio Lodge in Alaska this week, and I learned about their King and Corn experience in June. Have you ever done that?
I've never been there. I've actually never skied in Alaska, but the Kings and Corn, if I remember correctly, it's a combination of heli skiing and salmon fishing.
Correct.
Yes.
Super
Pretty
cool.
amazing.
Yeah, and one of my friends who happens to be an amazing skier, she said it's on her bucket list. So it sounds like it should be on mine, other than perhaps the ski level is a bit over my pay grade. So
Yeah, actually, I kind of forgot about Alaska there for a minute because we offer a lot of heli skiing products. Many of them are in Canada, but we also work with a lot of heli ski operators in Alaska. So this is a great time to go check that out.
and just out of curiosity, so that particular experience is in June. Like, how late would you go heli skiing? Clearly, it's extending the season because you're further north and higher altitude. How late do they go?
Well, generally, I think the heli season starts in Alaska kind of late. It's kind of like it starts in March. So that's the best time to go. And I can't imagine that going after June would be a good idea. So, the Kings and Corn, the corn, it's the corn snow, the spring skiing. So,
Right.
People think of heli skiing, they think of getting really deep, untracked powder. So I would say to go earlier than that if that's what you're looking for.
Okay. Well, it sounds amazing. And I forgot to ask you this before, and I'm curious. So one time we were skiing in Switzerland in Locks, and they had Porsche designed ski lifts that were bucket seats like you're sitting in a Porsche, and they also rotate to face the sun as you go up the mountain. Does anybody in the US have those?
No, the lift technology in Europe is definitely on another level than it is in North America. But I've actually never heard of that, but I'm not surprised. Nothing about the lifts in Europe would surprise me.
Yeah, it was pretty nice.
Awesome. All right, so let's move on to the après ski scene. I have a picture here of I think this is downtown Telluride. So it really looks very inviting. So Dan, tell us a little bit about how you see après ski changing, and something I mentioned in our promotional materials was that we would talk about if we would see gorillas in the mist or not.
Right. So
about that.
Yeah, après is it. I think we'll see what happens, but it's interesting you have a picture of Telluride because I haven't told you this. I just read about it last night. Very cool idea from Telluride. They are refurbishing 20 old gondolas that they're going to have in Mountain Village, and they're going to be set up with tables for dining, and they're going to have QR codes so that you can order food from the gondola. And they're not sure how this is going to work yet, but it could be that the restaurants in Mountain Village could deliver food right to your gondola. So I think that's a really creative idea, but I think that we're going to see a lot of outdoor dining, some tents with heaters. I think that the capacity inside obviously is going to be a little bit different this year than last, but après is just as much a part of skiing as skiing itself. And if there's a way to après, the industry will figure it out. So I have high hopes. Now, Gorillas in the Mist would just be, a bunch of guys on a guys trip that are sharing a hot tub together. May not see as much of that, but I think hot tubbing will still be happening, but maybe in smaller groups.
Also, I think you called it man soup.
Yeah, whatever. It's man soup, Gorillas in the Mist. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's perfectly descriptive.
Yeah.
I wasn't prepared for that, though. That's a little shocking.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess we're gonna wrap it up in a minute, but before we do, a couple more questions for you, Dan. We'd love to hear, because we know you've been on a lot of ski trips to a lot of amazing destinations. Give us some insight into your most epic ski experience of your life.
Well, I am lucky that I've had a lot of great ski experiences, and I think that the past several years I've been going to Japan every winter, and a couple of years ago I hit it just right, and it snowed about 150 inches while I was there, and I've never skied snow that deep and that light in my life. So that was an amazing trip, probably one that'll go down in the memory books.
Review. Is this from that trip that you sent me?
It's from Japan. I'm not sure if it's from that trip. It might be.
Okay. All right.
It's always good there.
There you are in the deep powder.
Yeah.
That looks amazing. I am not a powder skier, which I've shown myself by trying to ski off the back of Ajax once, and I don't know that I'll ever do it again, but I love seeing pictures of other people doing it. So
You can do it. I'm confident.
That's what they say until you get there.
Yeah, truly, I felt like I was going to die the entire time, and wearing the avalanche meter on my neck didn't help that feeling.
Sets the tone.
One other question for you. Actually, somebody had written in, and I want to ask you a follow-up question. It talks about, or asks the question about, what's the policies going to be like for dining in and outside? Have restaurants and resorts looked at heated outdoor spaces? You just touched on the gondola idea. Do you know, are most of them moving their eating outside this year?
Well, yeah, I mentioned that too. So there are definitely going to be tents outside, and
Okay.
I know that on mountain dining there are the on mountain dining options. Many of them will have tents, and maybe potentially opening additional facilities. In fact, and then I think the same will happen in the base villages. That we'll see more outdoor dining, more creativity. But like I said, food and drink is an important part of the whole experience. So we'll find. And something to point out is that the resorts were very popular this summer. There were a lot of people in these mountain destinations, so they have a lot of practice figuring things out. So I think that I'm very confident that the resorts will be able to handle people in a very safe way while still providing a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know it's definitely something a lot of people are contemplating, because for those people who were planning to go south, to get warm weather in the Caribbean or Mexico, and that's not an option, staying in the U.S. and still having an adventure is a good alternative, I guess. What about, last question, do you have any tips or insider scoop about a particular destination that would be helpful to our viewers?
Insider scoop about a particular destination.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Inside secrets. I know when we talked the other day, you were talking about in Vail.
Oh, gotcha. So yeah, this is a great segue from the dining. Vail, I think this is a kind of a local thing that people know about, but this is great to know as a tourist, is that there are a number of grills that are around Vail. There's in the back bowls, at the top of Chair 4, all over the mountain. So a kind of really cool experience, and a way to keep yourselves away from the crowd is to pack a backpack full of food, put it in the snow next to the cooler, put it in the snow as a cooler next to the grill, go about your ski day, come back and fire up the grill and have a mountaintop barbecue. So it's especially fun when the sun is shining and surrounded by great views. So that's a great little insider tip.
I am definitely up for that. And I thought the sun shined and there was always fresh powder out west. At least that's what they tell people
Every
in the
day.
Northeast.
Every day. It only snows at night.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dan. It's been delightful. I think we're all a little inspired about trying to get some snow time and mountain time this winter. We will transition next time on November 5th to Maui. We're going to go south and talk about staying in the U.S. at a warm weather destination, which could also be a good alternative when you're not skiing this winter. Maybe it'd be a great combo, actually, a little sun and then a little skiing. And you can find us here live on Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube, 12:30 on November 5th. So we look forward to seeing you then and at our future episodes. Thanks so much for joining us.
Bye.
Bye-bye.